So I have Cern Basher back this morning, as promised, and we're going to talk about space and how to get rid of the entire debt of the U.S. government. Or did I get that? Did I go too far?
Well, pretty much, I think we need to take the debt and just send it into a black hole. I think that would be the
Oh,
solution.
there you go. That's right.
Yeah,
100%. We couldn't we ask Grok 4 how to solve the debt problem?
we may have to because no human has been able to solve it yet.
That's right. That's right. So
Yeah.
what are we waiting for?
It would be funny, wouldn't it, if AI said, "No, it can't be solved. You guys
You
have
guys
cooked
are
yourself.
you're cooked.
There's no solution. You're done. You're going to go back to, shells as money. I'm sorry, but that's it." Yeah.
That would be great. Uh-huh. Right. Well, I understand that you were digging around in some other areas of science and that you have some
Stumbled across something
very,
I think that's
very,
really interesting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, tee it up. Let's see what you got.
All right. That sounds good. So here is first let's get this out of the way.
Oh, yeah, that.
Um, and then uh, this is video on YouTube called the $1 billion telescope no one is talking about.
Okay.
And so I wanted just to share this with you and kind of discuss this a little bit. It's really quite fascinating. So it's a telescope that's in Chile, high in the mountains,
Huh.
and it weighs 350 tons. It took them 20 years to build it, $1 billion, and it contains the largest camera that's ever been made.
Wow.
And here's an image of part of it here. It looks like this giant camera lens,
Okay. That's the lens. That's just the lens. Okay.
just the lens. Yeah, which is, as they say here, the size of a small car. Your photos, if you have a new Apple phone, might have a 40 megapixel image. This takes a 3,200 megapixel image.
Okay.
Okay, so it's pretty beefy in terms of its imagery. What I'm about to show you is the first image it's ever taken,
Okay.
and this is of the night sky above Chile.
Okay.
And actually, this is a composition, I think, of several images. The first image it ever took actually is the little square over here somewhere.
Hmm.
But this is a very high resolution. You can actually zoom into this and see a lot of detail here.
Hmm.
The resolution on your TV screen or whatever you're looking at, this is not going to do this justice.
Right.
But this system is pretty amazing. Let's just go through some of the details real quick. Here it is sitting on a high on top of a mountain in Chile.
Okay.
Um, Another angle of it here in the daytime or early evening, perhaps. Um, the image that it can take is what it would be able to see the light of a single candle on the moon
Okay.
from Earth. That's how sensitive it is to light.
Wow.
Okay. Now, here's another image of the camera as they're installing it. Part of the lens. So on a couple duplicates here is a sort of more close-up of the lens system, and so on here. Here's one of the mirrors. It's 8.5 meters across. So what's that? 20 feet plus 20 foot mirror. I mean, you can see the people here standing next to it. Here's one of the mirrors. It's made up of there's three big mirrors. This is the largest one.
Okay.
Enormous. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Very, very perfect. If the mirror was scaled up to the size of the United States,
Yeah.
the variation in the surface of the mirror would be just millimeters.
Wow.
It is as perfect as humans can make mirrors. Yeah. I don't know what percentage of the $1 billion cost that was, but probably
A
pretty
lot.
significant.
Lot,
Yeah.
probably, yes.
Yeah. And by the way, the equipment that makes helps make the chips, the AI chips for NVIDIA, that TSMC makes, uses equipment from a company called ASML, a Dutch
Yeah.
company.
Right. Right.
And the mirrors in that equipment also extremely flat, extremely precise.
Yes. Yes.
Carl Zeiss helps them make that their relationship with Zeiss. Okay, so this camera takes an image of the night sky that's 9.6 square degree area, right? And to put that into perspective, the size of that area that it takes, you can fit about 40 images of the moon
I see.
in that.
Wow.
Okay. So that's when it's taking an image, that's kind of this area that it takes, but it's taking an image of each square and it takes 15 seconds per square.
Hmm.
And it just goes along and scans and scans and scans. Okay. And it does two images of the same spot each time. So it's basically you're getting two images every time you're doing this, 15 seconds each.
Hmm.
Okay. And then it just moves on to the next segment of the sky, the night sky, and does the same thing, right? And just keeps doing that. Over the course, I think it's 2 or 3 nights, maybe 3 nights, it can scan the entire night sky.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's getting an image of the entire night sky, let's say every 2 or 3 nights. I forget whether it's 2 or 3, but in that range.
Right.
Okay. Um, Here's the field of view. I'll just skip this. So the lenses have different filters. There's 6 different filters, and it allows us to see different wavelengths,
Wavelengths. Okay. Yep. Yep.
right? And so the detail of the image is phenomenal. You can look at, clouds of gas and all kinds of other things, things that the humans would never be able to see with the naked eye.
Hmm.
Um, so it puts together this incredible image of the night sky that we've never had before. And so, what can we do with this? There's a few things, and I think we're just scratching at the surface here. But right now, we have an understanding of about 500,000 asteroids
Hmm.
that we're aware of.
Hmm. Hmm.
With this system, we should be able to increase that to 500,000,000. We'll be able to see them all,
Yeah.
detect them all for the first time.
Right.
So that's kind of handy. Okay. The other thing is changes. When is there, things going on in the solar system that they're changing? Well, because these are digital images, you can take two images and compare them and
Right.
subtract them and look for differences.
Right. And
And
all.
of course, an AI system will do that automatically and tell us.
Yes.
Now, the magnitude of this is for every image that the camera takes, it's going to detect 10,000 changes per image.
I see.
In a given night, it will detect 10 million different changes in the night sky. Right? Talk about data for scientists to dig into.
It's a good thing Elon's adding 100 GPUs. I mean, I'm sorry, 1 million GPUs in Memphis.
That's right. You start to get a good understanding just in this one area,
Yeah.
astronomy,
Yeah.
how having, an intelligent AI system as your assistant
Yes.
is going to be critical. So they're expecting some massive, massive breakthroughs with this system. Um, and so I guess stay tuned at this point because I think we'll start to hear some news. Um,
That's
Segueing
yeah.
from this,
Well, okay. So that again, for instance, the asteroids it's not very interesting to know they exist. The most important thing would be to know that they're maybe headed our way,
that's a big part of it to
especially if
detect
they're,
them.
yes.
Yep. Yeah, certainly an early detection standpoint. We'll also be able to image our solar system and the Milky Way in ways that we've never been able to see before. Yeah, the amount of data that's going to come from this is just astonishing.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay. Now, some people have asked, why do this on Earth? What about the telescope we have in
Right.
space? Well, that's important too. That telescope more looks at deep space. The purpose with this telescope is to look at everything at
I see.
once,
I got it.
and very powerful. Even with image distortion here on Earth, apparently they use AI to sort of counteract some of those effects.
Hmm.
It's going to be an incredible tool.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Speaking of black holes, Randy, let's talk about debt.
Oh, okay.
How's that for a segue?
That's a good segue. Good segue.
Yeah, and this is a recent cartoon. The comment here is maybe we should change the name to One Big Beautiful Hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Elon
Um,
hasn't been talking about the debt, has he?
well, tax cuts are worthless if the government keeps overspending. Inflation is the real tax. And Elon says, exactly. So I took this a step further and I said, well, alternatively, we could just eliminate all taxes.
Yeah.
And then when the government needs money, Randy, they can just print it. And I said, what could possibly go wrong? Right? What are your thoughts about that? Why don't we just, why do we have taxes? Why do we burden ourselves with taxes, Randy?
Well, I haven't thought it through. I saw your post the other day, and it was illuminating and interesting, but I didn't have time to think it through. What I can think through right now is that there's no tax that is more poorly distributed than inflation. So our tax system tends to have a distribution curve that taxes the wealthy a higher percentage, even though it's not more dollars, it's a higher percentage. When I say more dollars on a relative basis. So because they can afford it. And there's even in my first tax class in law school, the professor had specialized in this, and he said if you think about it in terms of somebody who takes a 50-50 bet, no smart person ever takes a 50-50 bet, because the incremental next dollar or $10 or $50 or $1,000 isn't worth as much as the last one. So you're never going to do that, because the more money you get, the less valuable it is. And so that is a phenomenally interesting scientific reason why we would tax the rich more on a percentage basis. But we've also just got the real fact that we don't want to, right now, we don't tax people that make less than $30,000 hardly at all. But inflation taxes those people on a percentage basis by far the most, because most of their money is going into consumption of staples as opposed to things like luxury goods and whatnot. So
and they don't have assets to offset the inflationary effects.
That as well. Yes. So all of that's true. So yes, it's not a very good idea for the poor, at least.
Yes. And so it's interesting, isn't it? So then we've got Elon advocating quite loudly for reducing spending, maybe even trying to balance the budget.
Right.
And yet that, from a financial standpoint for him, might hurt him.
Right.
But obviously he's not operating on that level. He's more concerned with the health of the country.
Right.
He's probably also concerned with the opportunity that Tesla has, which benefits, millions of shareholders, millions of people and the employees of the company. Right. So that to me is sort of why Elon is doing what he's doing.
Right.
Now, here's my attempt to try to make some sense of this and help people understand the magnitude of this problem.
Okay.
And I resort to my trusty spreadsheet and charts. Let's see if this works. What I did was take the US numbers, and I decided to digest it down, distill it down into something that I think the average person could understand, kind of more in terms of a household.
Right.
So instead of looking at trillions and billions, I took all the numbers and I just arbitrarily divided them by 50 million. And that gets our nation's income down to about $100,000.
Okay.
You could look at this on a household basis if you want to, but
sure,
we've got income of 100,000, Randy.
Okay.
But we're spending 140.
Yeah.
That's the leftmost dots on this chart.
Gotcha.
Now we're going out 15 years. We're increasing our income by 3%, and we're increasing our spending by 5%. Right? So the spending line is going up faster than the income line.
Right.
Okay. You look at this and say, okay, fine. We've got income now of 150, and we got spending of over 250, 275, something like that in 15 years.
Right.
Okay, fine. How's that any different than where we are today? No big deal, right? Okay. Let's look at this. We've got the deficit. This is the shortfall in any given year that is growing. It's the difference in these two previous lines. That's these bars down here.
Okay.
Now we've got the debt. And again, we're starting with debt of about $750,000. If you've got income of 100, your debt initially is about 750,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And your debt to income ratio is about seven-ish, so maybe 7.2, I think, initially.
Okay.
And over time, it grows to 12. Okay. Again, you say, okay, what's the big deal? Debt to income goes from 7 to 12, 7 to 13, whatever it is, fine. Not worried about that. We started with 750,000 in debt, and in the end, we've got, about 1.9 million. Okay. So what? Well, here's the problem. Initially, you've got interest cost of 20,000. Okay. And remember, you're making 100.
Right.
So, 1/5 of your income is going to interest costs. Again, think about this in terms of household.
Right.
If
Right.
you had a household and you had $100,000 a year in income and 1/5 of it went to pay interest, you don't have a whole lot left over. That's a big chunk to pay just interest costs.
Right.
You're not paying down the debt. This is just the interest cost. Okay. So your interest cost as a percent of income is over here at 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This interest cost is artificially low right now because we had the benefit of some years where interest rates were super low. We had refinanced the debt at lower levels. Now interest costs looking forward are going to push us up to something like $30,000 a year. And our interest cost as a percent of income now is about 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But here's the problem. As we go on, this interest cost as a percent of income goes from 30% up to about 50.
Mm.
Now, I don't know about you, but in my household, if I had interest expense of 50% of our income, that would be a problem.
Would be a problem. Yeah.
It would crowd out a lot of spending.
Right.
Now, imagine at the nation state level, right? The nations have all kinds of obligations, Social Security and healthcare and defense. What are you going to stop spending money on at this point?
Right.
Wouldn't it be easier to deal with it now when interest cost is only 20% rather than 50?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point along here, probably the system breaks. I don't know where that is, but how long can it continue to absorb more and more of the income? Right. And I think Elon is seeing this and he's saying, we need to do something about this. The time is now, because if we let this go on too much longer, even though it appears everything's hunky-dory, it's really not. Okay. And again, this is a little chart here of government spending by category in 2024, right? Social Security, defense, transfers to states, interest on the debt, Medicare, other. And there's a lot of stuff in this other that to a lot of people are very important. Where do you cut? Right? And if we don't, then this is only going to grow as a percentage of this total, making it even harder at some point to cut.
Right.
Right? Okay. Let's look at two ways then, Randy, of dealing with this. Let's say we could magically cut spending so that it was equal to our income. Now, that would be tremendously painful in the short term.
Sure.
Right? You're taking $40,000 out of spending and matching it down to income at 100. And then you grow that income and you grow the spending together, right? In that case, you get this, you get the debt to income ratio coming down. That's nice. And then here you get the interest cost as a percentage of income. While it spikes next year or, one year later, it comes down over time to about where we are now.
Okay.
So, 15 years, you kind of get back to where we were. Okay. That's maybe a partial solution.
Sure.
And by the way, that cutting the 40,000, that's a huge cut. Like, I'm not even sure if that's even achievable.
Right.
But if you could, in 15 years, you can kind of get back to where we are and we're on a better path. Okay. What you and others have been advocating for is let's grow our way out of this.
Right.
Right. And Elon responded thinking about it, right? He's thinking about growing his way out of this. So here's that scenario. So we've got spending growing at 5%. What happens if we could grow income at 10% instead of 3? So your $100,000 a year of income grows up to, over 350, close to 400 in 15 years. The spending goes from 140 to 275, something like that. Okay. Well, in that case, the debt, well, first of all, the deficit turns negative, which means it's a surplus in about year 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
The debt peaks in year 8 and comes down, and the debt to income ratio comes way down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So clearly, growing our way out of this would be the preferred method. It
Right.
involves no cuts today, but it involves higher growth, not taking that growth and spending more, but just spending more, 5% more instead of the 10.
Sure.
And you can get on this kind of trajectory. And then from a interest cost perspective, interest costs do rise for the next few years, all things being equal, assuming interest rates don't change.
Right.
But that interest cost as a percent of income comes way down.
Mm-hmm.
Goes from 20% up above 25 for a bit, and then down to 5% over 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, this is really simplified. This is taking the US government, converting it to households, just dividing everything by 50 million, just so that people can understand kind of at, household level what that looks like.
Right.
There's obviously a lot more nuance to this, but it's also quite simple. Like we're spending more than we are taking in.
Right.
Right? Do you try to take in more by increasing taxes? Well, that has a negative effect on growth.
Right.
Do you try to cut spending drastically? Well, that has a negative effect on the economy in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
Long term, probably okay, but in the short term, really painful. Or do you try to grow our way out of this problem that we found ourselves in? And interestingly enough, I think we have a unique opportunity to perhaps do that in the coming decade or two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? With AI, robotics, etc.
Okay.
So curious to get your thoughts on all that,
Sure.
Randy.
All right. So I have had, because I've consulted with over 400 different companies and built 40 of my own, written a bunch of books on these kinds of subjects with regard to business. There is a philosophy or a theory in business when you're faced with this kind of situation that, in fact, even when you're just wanting to earn more, you just want to literally have more money to take home at the end of the day, which is really what we're talking about here, is how could the government, in a way, have a profit so they can pay down the debt. And what some of the people that I follow have talked about is you don't have to do, you shouldn't concentrate on any one thing. You should really be doing incremental things to everything.
Yeah.
So we're in a very, very, very cool position right now, in my personal opinion. And people that watch the channel often probably already know where I feel on this, but I'm kind of just copying Besant. And so Besant says we need to increase revenues to the government. And he believes that will come from $300 billion a year in tariffs. And already we're seeing that, 22 billion last month. So he believes it'll increase by 300 billion a year. And by the way, the CBO agrees with that number at this point. He believes we will grow revenues by 300 billion by virtue of dynamic scoring because of the tax cuts that are in the new big, beautiful bill, the tax cuts to businesses, the tax cuts to overtime people, to tips, and to Social Security recipients, that these various tax cuts will also result, when you score it dynamically, in a growing economy that will return 300 billion a year. Then once you have, and then we have the DOGE cuts, which are, some of those are already included in the big beautiful bill, but the government is promising to do another rescission bill in the fall, as well as not rescission. It's called a reconciliation bill, like the one they just passed, in the fall, and then do rescission bills in increments, codifying the things that the DOGE commissions have done, but have not yet been codified. We had the U.S. Supreme Court help out 2 days ago, by saying that the government can, in fact, lay off all those people that were stopped by a circuit judge. No, those layoffs can continue. So it'll be interesting on Friday to see, because we get the deficit number on Friday, to see what impact it's having on the deficit at this point. So if we grow the total amount of revenues in those different ways, and we reduce the amount of spending in the ways that are being proposed, the we're incrementally attacking all of those. Interest rates should drop if we see deficit spending going down. And Bessent is hoping for about another 300 billion a year or 400 billion a year from interest rates reducing, as well as the total curve coming down in terms of the amount of debt that's out there that we need that we will have to pay the interest on. So all of that, again, dynamically happening. Now that's all that Bessent can do. That's all that the government can do. You layer on top of that, Cathie Wood, probably you, Elon Musk, and others who believe that and many others, Peter Diamandis and others who believe that AI and robotics will generate this amazing increase in productivity. You said 10%. That would be Cathie Wood's highest number. She thinks it could get up to 10%. This will sound a little weird coming out of Randy's voice. I'm going to be conservative on that one. I think that if we could get to a 6% per year increase in productivity, that would be incredible. And that productivity increase plus probably a modified, I don't think inflation is ever going to get back to 2%. I think it's under 2% now. Truflation thinks it's at 1.66. I don't think we ever get back to 2. If we're really at 1.66 or maybe coming down to something more like 1%, then 1% of inflation plus, let's say 6% of productivity would give us a GDP increase of roughly 7%. So that would be my solution for all of that. And maybe next week you could show us a chart. That is mental.
By the way, I would say that my 10% number there was just an illustration. It wasn't any prediction or anything. Just to show the magnitude of what you could do in 15 years if it was.
Right. No, I like it.
And of course, any kind of straight line projection is never going to pan out because that's not the way the world works.
No, in fact, we had this massive productivity increase in the 90s, which was on the order of 4 or 5% per year. And that was the best we've done since the 50s. We had great productivity after the Second World War, productivity increases. But then we flattened out, and then we had great in the 90s, and then we've really flattened out since then. And the result of that, and the result of the things that the president's been talking about in terms of the tariffs and rebuilding the working middle class, we hollowed out that working class. We hollowed out our manufacturing capacity, so we didn't get those productivity increases. And as a result, the middle class workers have not seen real increases in their wages for almost any of that 50 years. The only time they've seen real increases in their wages has been the 4 years of Trump 1 and the first 6 months of Trump 2. So he seems to be doing something right for the middle class.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see again as the waves of AI and robotics start to hit us. You know what that means?
Yeah.
It's a very messy middle.
Yeah.
The endpoint is, kind of exciting. In theory, we'll have, abundant supply of almost everything.
Right.
But in the meantime, we're going to destroy a lot of people's incomes. And so politically, we're going to have to get much better at sharing the wealth, sharing the success, however you want to term it, to the people that are displaced for whatever reason.
Yeah, and we don't really know what that looks like, and I spend a lot of time thinking about that. But you and I have lived through the end of secretaries. We've lived through the end of bank tellers. We've lived through the end of retail clerks. There's been a whole lot of different job categories that were the number one job at the time that have been completely wiped out. I mean, we didn't live through it, but we had farmers at the end of the 19th century. We had factory workers right after the Second World War that was eliminated dramatically reduced as a category. So we've seen these shifts before, but this one could be a more across the board shift to white collar, clerical, as well as manufacturing. We just don't know. How drivers could be a big one. And we also don't know how quickly this transition will happen. I make fun of one of my clients who, recently updated their computer to, I would say, about 2005 standards. And he's a business owner. So, and is having a lot of difficulty getting used to the inventory control.
Yes.
So, so just because we have these great technological capabilities in hand doesn't mean that NVIDIA gets on board as quickly as, I'm sorry, not NVIDIA. I was going to make the joke that Intel gets on board as quickly as Tesla does, let's say, for instance.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of upheaval, a lot of losers. And in these markets, it's probably, there's a few winners and they'll take most.
Yeah,
Just like we've already seen with some of the big tech companies,
right.
right? And cloud computing, for example, there's only a handful of companies there that have been really successful.
Right.
AI, I think, is another one of those markets. If you build the best model, then you're going to get the majority of the opportunity associated with that. So, again, as we talked in our previous show, this is an arms race.
Yeah.
And it's not only an arms race within the US to see who can build the best AI, but it's a global arms race
Yeah.
that has massive implications beyond just the job market. The
Yeah.
security implications as well.
Oh, absolutely. Across the board, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly the good news is that if they eliminate wealth management as a category, if AI takes that away from you, my speculation is that mountain tour guides will be a major category that automation will not remove.
Well, the humanoid bots eventually will be very good at climbing mountains as well.
Yeah, I think I'm still going to want the human. Yeah, I don't know, just me.
Yeah.
The good
Yeah.
news about the bot is it probably won't end up dead and lying in the snow on the side of the path.
Well, if it does, it just transports its mind into another one,
Yes, you're right. That's
right? The reincarnation of bots, I think, is something that we'll see, but we're not entirely sure if that happens with humans just yet.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I do believe that some of the extreme sports and other kinds of tourism will not be subsumed by bots. That there will be a personality content or human personality aspect that people will still want to have in those kind of adventures. Anyway, very, very, very different for you today, CERN. So we've learned about space and we've learned about debt. But you didn't mention Bitcoin. This is the first time you've not mentioned Bitcoin in an entire program.
Well, I'm pretty sure that telescope, Randy, if to the extent that we can see into deep space and the other galaxies, I think we'll discover that those other alien cultures have invented something very similar to Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you brought that up, and this is our special time, just you and I, to have these fun conversations. But it occurred to me the other day, we have a problem, because you've been teaching me. See, I got each of my co-hosts teach me in certain areas. And you taught me a while ago about the security aspects of the various kinds of cryptocurrencies that you can use fractional coins, a percent of a penny, transferring it in order to create security situations. Well, it occurred to me over the last couple of days, we've had this thing with Rubio where he was impersonated and it was actually impersonated to foreign governments. We've got, my picture. You could take I guess a sentence that I say, and take that one sentence, and you can turn that into my personality and my voice and my vocal, the way that I speak. Anyway, and try to con somebody. Is there a way that these digitized methodologies can be used to prove that something is original?
I believe so. I'm not an expert in the technology aspect of it. There's probably other people that can better speak to that, but it's my understanding that there is. It's a matter of instead of protecting things with passwords,
Mhm.
right, which are always breakable, hackable,
Right, right.
right? If you protect it with real world energy,
Hmm.
then the cost of breaking into something scales up with the effort required.
Okay.
So that's kind of the ultimate thing. Eventually, if you require enough energy to protect something that's more than the energy generated in the world, then no one's going to break into it, right? Um, so, there's things like that I think that, and I've mentioned this before, that Bitcoin, as exciting as it is as digital money, digital gold, digital capital, it's perhaps its most important use
Right.
is
Secure.
digital security,
Hmm. Hmm.
which allows the others to thrive. If
Right.
you've got a secure digital capital, secure digital money, secure digital gold, then you can rely on it. You're in a good spot. You don't worry about those things being taken away from you,
Right.
and therefore you're more comfortable putting money into those things because it's secure.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's
No.
the very reason for doing it, right?
Right.
And that's one of the reasons too that people are increasingly, uh, you know, allocating money away from the fiat money system
Hmm. Hmm.
where they've lost trust and they've lost security. Inflation is eroding the purchasing power of the money, right?
Right.
As we talked about earlier, you know, through taxation, through currency debasement, people don't have a good way of protecting their assets.
Right. Right.
So this is Bitcoin is the combination of, secure money, but also the ability to secure all kinds of other things. Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
that was on my mind, and I guess I could have asked Grok 4. In fact, after the show right now, I guess I should download it.
Yeah, I know you should download it. It's available now. If you
Yeah, I
if
know.
you had access to Grok before, you can access Grok 4.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's got to be part of my challenge for the day. Download that and start asking it a couple of questions. I'll say, is Cerner ever right about? No, no, that's not one of the questions I was going to.
Yeah. Well, the question I would ask is when should Randy Kirk buy back Tesla stock? Let's see if it becomes a good trader. Sorry to throw that out there, Randy. It's too easy for me to, you know.
Just in
Yeah.
case anybody's just in case anybody's unclear on this, I bought it back the next day. Anyway,
There were lots of people out there, Randy, that were unclear. I've had
I
many
know
questions
there's
about that.
definitely people out there that are still
Yeah,
unclear, but then that's part of the fun of X.
that's right.
All right, Cern, thanks a lot for bringing us a very unique and interesting show today. And I guess we'll check out what you have in mind next Thursday. I don't know if we can possibly eclipse the news of this Thursday, but next Thursday, who knows what we might be able to talk about.
Well, we're looking for Grok in the car within the week, so no
Should
doubt
have,
we'll be able to talk about that.
could have lots of video of people talking to their car.
And maybe we can do a video with me in the car and Grok. Maybe we can have the three of us have a chat.
I think you need to get your wife in there too, though, because she's the comedian. I mean, I know you're funny, but come on.
Somebody has to write the jokes, Randy.
I see. All right. Cern Basher, thanks again, as always, for being on board. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Randy.